shadows of Pokegama Asylum. In the dense woods outside Pine City, Minnesota, stood an imposing structure known as Pokegama Asylum. It loomed like a forgotten giant, abandoned for decades yet steeped in dark history and local lore. Once a place of refuge for the troubled, it became a house of horrors, riddled with tales of despair and unnatural occurrences. Legend had it that the spirits of the lost still roamed its crumbling halls, seeking solace or revenge. Laura, a local college student studying psychology, had always been fascinated by the human mind and its depths, especially the darker corners. When she heard about Pokegama during a late-night study session, her curiosity piqued. Urban exploration had gained notoriety, and she felt a pull toward something deeper, perhaps even therapeutic for her academic pursuits. After researching the asylum's history, she decided that a visit was a must, convinced she could document her experiences for her thesis. It was a brisk autumn evening when Laura drove to the outskirts of Pine City, the sun dipping below the horizon and painting the sky in hues of crimson and gold. The air felt heavy with anticipation as she parked her car and stepped out, a chill creeping up her spine. The old building loomed in the distance, its silhouette jagged against the twilight. As she approached, the air thickened, resonating with an eerie silence that swallowed her footsteps. Vines strangled the facade and shattered windows gaped like hollow eyes. Laura felt a shiver travel down her spine as she stepped across the threshold, wary yet exhilarated. The air inside the asylum felt stale, laden with the weight of forgotten memories. As she progressed deeper into the corridors, Laura felt a growing sense of unease. Whispers caught her ear, not from her own lips, but soft murmurings that seemed to emanate from the walls, beckoning her to listen closely. "Help me," the faint voices seemed to say, blurring the line between reality and the imagination. Laura paused, her heart racing. "Is anyone here?" she called, her voice trembling slightly. Silence enveloped her, and doubt crept in. Maybe it was all in her head. Maybe she should turn back. But as she turned to retrace her steps, a cold breeze swept through the corridor, as if the building were exhaling, and the door at the far end swung shut with an unsettling thud. Instinctively, she knew she was not alone. Heart pounding, she gathered her courage and approached the door, feeling an invisible force drawing her closer. Using her flashlight, she pushed the door open, revealing a room blanketed in shadows. The air grew dense, thick with a chilling presence. As she stepped inside, her flashlight flickered, casting erratic shadows along the walls. Old hospital beds lay overturned, sheets yellowed and tattered. In the far corner of the room, a figure appeared, a woman, her face gaunt, with hollow eyes staring blankly into the abyss. Laura's breath caught in her throat. "Help me," the woman sighed, her voice barely above a whisper, echoing the haunting petition Laura had heard earlier. Laura took a step back, overwhelmed by a sense of dread. "What happened here?" she stammered, but the woman merely pointed to a rusted metal door at the back of the room. Compelled by a combination of fear and curiosity, Laura approached the door, trembling hands reaching for the handle. She turned it slowly, and a low groan reverberated through the building. The door creaked open, revealing a dark staircase that spiraled downward into inky blackness. With a deep breath, she descended, flashlight trembling in her grasp. The air around her grew colder, suffocating, as the cries of those once confined echoed around her, mixing with her own racing thoughts. At the bottom of the stairs, a narrow corridor extended on both sides, seemingly endless. Laura felt an unshakable sensation that she was being watched. Shadows shifted in the corners of her vision, and the whispers grew louder, clamoring for her attention. Free us, find us, but find what? There was an unmistakable urgency. She needed to know. Each step forward felt like an eternity as she reached a door marked with peeling paint and rusted hinges. The air thickened, and a churning darkness pooled in the corners. With a swift breath, she pushed the door open, revealing a room lined with old medical equipment, long forgotten and caked with dust. In the center of the room stood a large, chilling apparatus, an old electroshock therapy machine, flickering faintly as if latent energy still coursed through its wires. The air crackled with tension, and Laura fought against the urge to flee. Suddenly, voices rose around her, shrill and frantic. "Please help us." The words blurred into a cacophony of anguish, spiraling around Laura, pulling her deeper into a swirl of memories and pain. Before she could comprehend fully what was happening, shadows swirled at her feet, a vortex of despair wrapping around her like a heavy fog. Laura stumbled, her heart racing as dread filled her veins. The shadows seemed to take form, manifesting into figures of patience, long-forgotten faces twisted in fear, eyes empty from suffering. "You should not have come here," one shadowy figure cried, retreating into the gloom. Laura felt her voice escape her, swallowed by the overwhelming presence. She stumbled backward, desperate to escape the phantasmal torment around her, but the shadows began to close in, merging with memories of the asylum itself, dragging her deeper into the darkness. "Help us," they cry, and Laura's heart shattered at their sorrow. She wished she could help, wished she could free them from their endless agony. As the shadows tightened around her, she suddenly thought of the woman, the empty gaze, the desperate plea. The figure had shown her the rusted door. Was it a way out, or a path to salvation for the tormented souls left behind? With a surge of determination, she tore herself from the clutches of darkness, rushing to the door she had seen earlier. The shadows screamed, their anguish raining down like arrows, but Laura pressed on, hurling herself up the staircase and bursting into the main corridor. Just as she reached the hall's end, the oppressive weight of despair lifted slightly. She darted toward the exit, the sanctuary of the outside world beckoning to her. As she burst through the door, the night air felt like a balm against her skin, the whispers falling silent behind her as the asylum receded into the past. Heart racing, Laura made her way to her car, breathless and shaken, realizing the sinister truth. Pokegama Asylum was not just a haunted building. It was a collective prison of souls, a monument to suffering that lingered between life and death. Though freed from its grasp, the echoes of their despair clung to her, awakening her understanding of the human condition, the fragility of life, the depths of despair, and the hunger for release. As she drove away, she captured in her heart the knowledge that some places withheld secrets too dark for the living to bear, and as the distance grew, she couldn't shake the chilling feeling of being watched. Tormented whispers mingling with the wind, a reminder that sometimes the past would not remain buried, it would always linger, waiting for the next curious soul to awaken its restless spirits.